evening.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to class, Mo.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good now. Thank you. Were you in class last time? Oh, is this the first time?
Yes, I was.
Oh, it was last week. Oh, okay. Not a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Who is ready with presentation?
You said 5 minutes, right?
Minimum. Minimum 5 minutes. So you have something to share for more than 5 minutes or not? Well, we'll just do an overview first before we. So let me share. Okay. All right. So, okay. So let's call one of our programs. Oh, okay. This one is okay. No, in fact, let's start something. All right, let's just do. Where's the note, by the way? Let me open the note. Yes. Okay. Okay, so I have the note now. So we just want to look at. Just want to look at this part. This last part. Introducing you to variables. Introduction to variables. Okay, introducing variables. Contrast. All right, so let's use this for our main. Our provider.tf remains the same. So if we copy this, Control C, and we'll make it the new main. Yeah. So we have main. Remove the old one for this. What I will see. Resource is AWS VPC. We're tagging it class VPC. Cider block. Let's cider block. What I want to do. Okay. What's the first VPC we have? Yeah, okay. All right, sorry about that. So what I'm just trying to show you is this. I'm trying to say that you actually don't have to specify your VPC CIDR directly. For example, say, we're talking about VPC. You don't really have to specify. We already tested it, so we know it works. There's no need to repeat it. You don't have to specify it like this. Another thing you could do, in fact, a better way to do it is to have a separate file called variable.tf and then specify the actual value in that file. All right, to see how that one is done, let's do a demo. So let's come here. So what you are used to is for us to have our VPC CIDR here, right? 10.0.0.0/16. And for VP CIDR, it's not just the number, so it's a string, so put it there. Okay, let's try this. Let's see if that works. So we'll save this, Ctrl S. So
Sir, should that be 16 or 17?
Oh, sorry, 16. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Okay. So let's save that. What are we working with? The BSL. Okay. So Terra.
You have not saved it, sir.
I think I did. Let me save it. Ctrl S. All right, save now, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Init. Terraform init. All right, so that's good. Terraform plan. So what is good you're going to do for us is going to create one resource for us. Of course, we know it's the VPC. All right, so this is correct. You know that this works. So what we want to do is we want to introduce a new file, a new configuration file. That file is called in special name. So we'll come here and say new file, and we'll call that file variables.tf. It's always .tf, variables.tf. So that is the file, variables.tf. We'll come here, and then before we even go there, let's first of all edit here and say, we don't want to always come here to specify. Every time you are looking for the value of the CIDR block, go to var dot, what do we want to call that CIDR block? Every time you want to do that, go to the file variables.tf, and then we come to variables.tf and put that there, Control V. So what we're just saying is accept variable from command line. All right. So we have variable VPC. That's more like the name that you are calling from the variable. VPC underscore CIDR, and it's a string. All right. So you have declared this in the variable. Let us save, Control S. Now we come here, and this is the name we are going to call from the variable. So we'll copy this, Control C, and then we'll go to main main.tf and say every time you need a value, you are setting up a CIDR block and you need a value, what you do, or we should have okay, no worry. Control V. All right. So go to the variables.tf and call this value. That is your CIDR. Right? So there's a separate file so that this file is separate from the file where we have the values. These are just variables. We don't have to be coming to the main.tf all the time to make changes. No, our main.tf remains almost as static as possible. And then we can be introducing different values from variable. Even though in this case, we are working with the CIDR block. All right, let's save that and see what it says. All right, so we say clear, and we say Terraform init. All right, so our main.tf no longer has the CIDR block value. So let's try to, let's see if we can run Terraform plan. Terraform plan is asking us for a value, enter a value. So that's what I mean by it will accept your variable, value for your variable from the command line. Unlike earlier on when we had it as part of the, we had the value here. But this time it's saying, go to a file. Oh, that's just variable. Go to that file and pick the value. All right, so let's just enter value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good, sorry to disturb you. Sir, why do we name it var.vpc_CIDR instead of variable.tf?
Because that is the name. This already means the variable.tf, the var. So you say go to variable.tf and call up this value. So if you go there, you are going to see that there is a declared value.
Okay. So this is documentation, right?
This was fetched from documentation.
Okay. Copy. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's quickly enter value so that we'll now go to where. So can you give me a CIDR value? Of course, the one we normally use. It can be anything. You can have a 1, 2, 3 dot. Okay, first two part to be constant. So .0.0/16. No, sir. All right. So we enter that value, and then it should go ahead to execute and provision the resource. All right. If we go ahead, it's going to do it. All right. So if we now say, let's do it for Terraform app plan minus auto. All right. But enter the value again, 10.20.0.0/6. All right, so now you know that it's not all the time that you put these values directly in the script. You have the option of making the script a bit flexible by deciding to enter the value on your command line. Just all right. So let us remove it. How do we remove Terraform? Display. All right. So next thing we want to try is what's the value again? 10.20.
Sorry, is it asking for this value? Maybe because you haven't saved what you have on the main.tf, or that is just the nature.
That's the nature, because we are saying you should pick it from the CLR.
Okay.
That's the nature of this particular configuration. But if you feel, why are we going through this? We are going to make it simple.
Oh, okay, sir.
All right, that's 16. All right. So the way to make this simpler is to create another file. And that file, let us say that that file, this was variable.tf. Now when you're practicing by yourself, let's create generally there are different kinds of environments for before production in your deployment. All right. So for now, one resource was destroyed. Let us create test development environment. So let us create another file. We are going to say file. And this file, let us call it, let's even call it production, prod dot. It can be any environment, it doesn't have to be. Prod dot, yes. So this file will be prod dot tf variables. tf vars here, tf vars. All right, so where is it? I was creating a file here. Prod. So I come back here and I say dev.tf var. All right. So I have this file. What do I have inside this file? What I have inside this file is just the cider value. So I'm going to come here and say, it's not a problem. VPC cider equals 10. Okay, so I say VPC, all right, cider equals, it must be within quotes, and then you say 10.30.0.0, for example. All right, so what is the difference? So let us save. What is the difference between having a separate file for our development environment called dev.tf var from having just variable.tf? Let us, so let's clear. And this time we are going to say Terraform unit. That file I will try to.
Don't you have to remove it from the variables?
No, not yet. So we have variables, we have Terraform, we have provider, we have main, dev, backend. Okay, what's that one doing there? Okay. All right, so Terraform. Okay, that's good. Control S. Let's try again. Terraform dot. Okay. All right, so that is good. Clear. Now, instead of removing it from variables like we're suggesting, to now tell Terraform that yes, complete the task in main.tf, but don't use the value here, or don't ask me for value on command line. Go ahead and use the value inside dev.tf var. So the command to do that is Terraform apply, and then we specify the file where the variables is already stated. If we do that, Control C, and we say, we'll come here, we already put a variable. Look at the variable, I mean, the value of the variable we're talking about. The variable was declared here as VPC cider, but the value was assigned here. We'll come here and we'll say Terraform apply. This time, use the variable file, and the value is inside dev. Okay. That's how to use it. And this is why we used the last time we tried to run that. So press enter. This time, it will no longer ask us for value because the value is already stated here, and we have asked the system to go get that. All right, so that's how it works.
Okay.
So you say yes, because we did not see auto apply. And then that will be created. So this is just a simple example using VPC. We're using, you were doing EC2 or any other resource for that matter, yes. You can just have a file that talks about the script and then a different file, variable file, that talks about the variables, and then yet a separate file where the actual values of the variables. Okay. All right, so we have created that. If you want, you can destroy that. But the thing about destroying this is that to destroy, you still use the full command as well. If you do therefore destroy, you will not know what you are talking about. What's it destroying? So you have to put it here. All right. You see, it's still asking for that value. So Control C. In order to make it full automation and you're not asking for value, you still make reference to the same. All right, so Control C. Reference to the same file would be the same way that I applied. I also use the same way for destroy. Very good. If I want, I could say I'll apply this thing. Okay. All right. All right, so one is destroyed. All right, let's say you want to use the same script. You have another assignment to provide a different environment in cloud, but this time, instead of dev environment, you want to produce test environments using the same script. So you're just going to come here, and you're going to create a new file, and you call it test.var. Test.tf variables. Var. So you find that here, and then the same CIDR. So you want to say your CIDR, VPC CIDR equals what's your value? The other one was 10 dot. Yeah, we'll just stick with 10 because 10 is the private IP addressing for A. So we'll say 10.60 this time, .0.0 is fine. All right. So running the same script, the same main, we are now using this to create a different environment. We'll see. Control S. And this time we are telling the system, create a different environment, but this time you are using the file test.tf.bar. So you come here and you say test. Test.tf. Right? So okay. All right. Auto approve. All right. So do you get it now? So this is why we use if you remember the command we used the last time. Okay. For this advanced Terraform, and then we're trying to run that when we loaded it, and then we read this. So I don't want to do that. All right. So this is what we're trying to do here. When we say Terraform apply, then we refer to the file that had the values of the variables of the resources that we're trying to do. I did not intend to load this. Are we done with the other one? One resource added. Let's go back to the other one. We're not done with that. So yes. Okay. So yeah, that works. So what do we have? Terraform state. Show. What is the state? What resources do we have? Oh, sorry, Terraform, not Terraform show. Yeah. What's the command?
Show.
Terraform
Show.
state. Yes, show is the one, yeah. I wanted to show state list. That's the one I wanted. Yeah. So it tells me that we have a resource that we have not collapsed, we have not destroyed. Yeah, Terraform will show is another command that will give me the details of this particular resource. Terraform show. They tell me this VPC is made up of all of these resources. Show me all of them. All right, so that's it. All right, so now that Terraform state list has shown me that we have a resource, let's quickly destroy it. It will be, how do we create it? We must destroy the same way we create it. Created like this, right? So we have to destroy that. You know, that was refer to the dependent files to display. Destroy. All right. So that was the introduction I wanted to give you. But in any case, if you decide, well, I don't need any of this long test environment, dev environment, I don't need that. I just want to create my VPC, then you have no problem. It's just trying to show you that beyond what you already need, Terraform is a bit more advanced. If that is the case, you have no problem. All you do is just put this line as part of your variable.tf. So you don't need to be creating the TF vars anymore. If we just put this, the file we had originally, we just put the value, the default value. If we copy this, Ctrl C, and then we'll come here, and we say our variables.tf, this same file, and then we'll just add this line. This is the only line that we use. So, and then we'll save. Then there is no need to refer to any other file. All right. So when we say I'll say Terraform init, because the configuration file changed. It's aware of that. Then we'll now say Terraform file. Let's see one. So this time, without adding any other file, it knows where. Without reference to any other file, it knows where to put it. All right, so that is fine. Then we say go ahead. Apply. You want, you can add. All right. So you just give it value. All right. So in operations, you are more likely to have all of these files, like you already saw with that example that I showed you. And then you can now make reference to the particular TF vars that you want the command line to draw instruction and values for to create the results. All right. Okay, one was added. So this time I want to destroy. Therefore, okay. Yeah, so that was variable. Any question on that?
Yeah, excuse me, sir. So it's important to make a note of how you created it, because I was just wondering if you leave it, if you create an environment and it stays there for years and there's now a need to destroy it, you know, if there are several ways to destroy and you don't remember exactly which one, or it doesn't matter, you just try any destroy, right? Until one destroys it.
you remember the command with which you created it. So you use that same command to destroy. If you don't remember the command, it becomes cumbersome trying to destroy with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then these are the commands basically. So if you created with this command, and maybe using a Terraform state list or any of those commands, can help you remember, oh, this is the resource that's created. Oh, I must have used this command to create it. And therefore you must add the same command, Control-C, Control-V to destroy. Is that what you meant?
Yes,
Was that your
yes,
question?
exactly. Yes, yes. Thank you.
For this one, let's see. My reference here was all right. Yeah, any other observation?
Yeah, sorry, I want to find out, when you talked about production environment, development environment, are those different environments in actual sense, or you are just deploying maybe within the same VPC, you have production instances, and then dev instances maybe of your EC2, or or are they different infrastructures in terms of production and environment?
Yeah, it's the second example that you gave. So we're just saying that there's really nothing to draw. So it's basically like before you are deploying an application, for example. Okay, this is beautiful. You are deploying an application, for example, and you are deploying within your VS Code, right? Everything you are, can you see my VS Code?
Yes.
Maybe you connect this to GitHub. That's the next thing we are going to, after this course. And then you draw your codes, you run your codes on Docker here, everything is beautiful here. But this is not your production environment. All of this is your development environment. And then after you develop and you run all your commands, everything seems beautiful. You now deploy to from here. After your development environment, you may now want to deploy to
production.
A container. So we're going to install Docker here, and then we'll deploy to Docker, we'll browse, everything is fine. Oh, beautiful. All right. Before you now say, okay, now that everything is working on my system, let me now push it to cloud for the first time and see how it will behave in cloud. But even at that time, you are still not pushing directly to production. Production is, once it's in production, the whole world sees it. The whole world sees it. So you still want to deploy to a test environment within production. So these are the different environments that we're talking about. In our own case, our production environment is local to our system. Okay, but if we were using Cloud9, for example, then it will no longer be local to our system. It will have to be something in cloud that we have to first of all set. So production environment essentially is the same kind of infrastructure, but you do not want to disrupt live network, the live traffic. So you are testing, you are developing, you are testing, you are doing rehearsal before you now make sure that, oh, it's perfect, everything is good. And maybe you wait for your supervisor to approve, you now deploy it to the environment. So by that command, we're just saying, well, I do not want to deploy to production yet. Let me test it in different environments. Please help me create this environment, this kind of VPC with this kind of EC2, so that I will deploy this application to that environment and test it there before I now see finally production. And that is where we use prod. It's okay, finally we tested it in these different areas, everything is working. We've tested it on Google Chrome, on Mozilla, on this, all of the different environments, not manually though. We automated the test, everything is good. Finally, I'm ready to deploy the product. If you did not have the production, then we use that command to set up the production VPC, put production EC2, like I mentioned, in the VPC, create the production environment as we want it. It is ready. Okay. Finally, deploy that application.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So everything we'll be talking about to this point is about resources and essentially infrastructure. Beyond this point, we'll now be talking about building the application that we are talking about, that we talk about all of the time. So that I now say, okay, the whole essence of building infrastructure is for this application to ultimately do it. But the applications do not come as applications. They come as codes, as Java codes, as Python codes, as JS, all kinds of code. So we'll see how to take those codes. We don't necessarily write the codes, even though at this stage we have an idea how codes are written. We don't write them. Developers write them. When they write them, we take the code from there as DevOps people, because as DevOps people, we are between developers and operations. Whatever the developers do, we take from them. I mean, essentially they do codes. We take their codes, convert the codes to application, do all of the testing, build the CI/CD pipeline that would automate the process of deploying that code to the different environments that I mentioned earlier. But ultimately, you want to see that that application is delivered safely, securely, in a highly scalable way to production. It's when it's in production that the 4 billion customers of Google will now see that, Google has changed the color of their logo to this, or Google has done this, Google has done this, because we just pushed it to production. Unlike everybody. You don't want to put something in production that will require correction later on. You must make sure it's perfect. So that is the reason for all of the testing here and there, the different environments. Make sure that it's found security-wise, legally, governance, in all of the regulations, and of course, technically, everything. All right. So statements like this, understanding the big picture, like I call it like this, are the soft language that you bring to the interview, so that you're not just talking technical, and your view is limited to what you do as a automation engineer, for example. You're able to bring the relevance of that skill, that knowledge. So the big picture. How else to describe big picture? That yes, you understand that this ball does not start at your table, but this is the contribution you will be making as a class solutions architect, for example. This is the contribution you'll be making, even though you know that before it got here and after I leave you, this is how everything works together to meet the company business objective. That is what I want you to talk about using this diagram. Yes, good question. Any other question? Yeah, anyone else there? You guys are okay because it's time for you to make presentation. And you want to get any clip before you make presentation, no problem, you can ask me. Okay. Everybody is good there. Hello, are you guys still there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so who is going first? Mo will go first. Yes, so you understand the assignment already. All right, so let me reduce this so you can. All right, so we're saying, let me see if I can reduce this. So this is an interview, and you just want to use this design to tell me that you understand what this is all about. In describing what this is all about and making it as clear as possible, you want to tell me the role that you played or that you would play based on what you know so far in this, the implementation of this design. All right, over to me.
So let me.
Are you talking? We're not hearing you.
No, I'm trying to get my diagram up
Oh, okay.
so I can have it aligned. So I don't know whether to say I was able to, or I should say I would, but I would start by saying that this infrastructure is actually a 3-tier full stack application. It has the front end, which is the web server, the back end, which is the application server, and the database, which in this case is the Amazon DynamoDB. I would say I was able to deploy a network infrastructure with 2 web servers, 2 application server, and 2 databases in 2 availability zones for high availability. So I was able to start my deployment to use both the cloud front and Amazon Route 53. With the help of AWS Route 53, I was able to route my customers' user requests to the internet application running on AWS or any on-premises. And I have the cloud front to speed up worldwide network access to both static and dynamic web content, with the advantage of edge location to reduce delay and provide the lowest latency. So I used Amazon S3 for the cloud front in order to be able to store and retrieve data from anywhere, since it is a global service. And it also has the capability of balancing load across multiple regions. Then I connected my Amazon S3 to an elastic load balancer for balancing traffic across multiple availability zones, since my network is across 2 AZs. I used Amazon DynamoDB because it's scalable and it has inbuilt security. And it's a fully managed serverless database designed to run high performance applications of my customers when needed. So it's scalable, basically. And of course, with the knowledge of Linux, it was instrumental in terms of operating system. It helped me manage all these applications when deployed. That's all I have. Just looking at the diagram.
Okay. All right. Was that after 5 minutes? We didn't take note of them. All right. So what was interesting? What was interesting? All right. So anyone wants to anyone has question for Mo? Okay. All right. They are scared to ask questions, so you don't ask them back. All right. All right. So. You said your Linux helped you to manage server.
Sorry, I think I have a
No,
question.
no. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead with the question.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. You said you had how many subnets? Oh.
Subnet. No.
I don't remember hearing something.
Sorry.
No, I said 2 web servers and 2 application servers and 2
Okay,
database
sorry.
into availability zones.
Okay, sorry. I think I
Two
misheard that.
AZs. Mhm.
2 AZs. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got you now. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well done. That's fine. So who is here? I mean, 12 of us. Okay, next person. Who is next? Anybody
Okay.
can be next.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
So let me expand this.
Please introduce yourself so that for video. I mean, when we are watching, we know who is.
Okay, this is Ramsey.
Okay.
Okay, so basically this architecture is a 3-tier architecture for cloud. My role as cloud AWS solution architect in this project was to work with the business analysts, the stakeholders in getting the requirement, designing, implementing, and the cloud computing solutions that will meet the business objective of the organization that I work for. And also I played a vital role in creating the project VPC for web application and database application hosting for deployment. So I had to make sure that the RDS had a connectivity that was encased in a subnet, in a VPC that had a public and private subnet. I also created the security group for the web and Elastic load balancer to help the application and the database layer. Also in my role, I made sure that all the architectural design were put in place to meet all the requirements, and that there was a storage and that was made available, and that also that CloudFront was established so that it would be easier for customers to reach their call when they request information. So the Route 53 actually acted as interface for users when they request a web page, and that translates to IP address that sends signal to Elastic Load Balancer, the simple storage, and the CloudFront to send back information required by the user. And for the third layer, the second and the third layer, which application server and the database layer had to communicate to the cloud through the load balancer via the subnet. And so after the project was completed and was deployed, so I continued to work with other architects and developers and other engineers to make sure that it meet the purpose of the deployment and objective for customers and the business and stakeholders.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is all I have to say.
Okay. All right. That's about 4 minutes. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right. Next person.
Okay, I think I can go.
Okay. Introduce yourself.
So I am Bola Afolabi. Yeah. So for this deployment in my AWS cloud, I have a VPC where I have the 3 tier, the web server, the application server, and the Amazon and the database server as well. I ensure that they have this, I have arrays of servers as well instances such that I'm able to ensure availability, so have a standby, and then just in case there is anything happening to the main, it will, we can have redundancy, a failover, to the other servers, to ensure high availability for my users. And outside of the VPC, I had before I go in outside of the VPC, within the VPC, I ensure that I had a NAT gateway in one of the subnet, the public subnet, which was ensuring that the private subnet, the instances, servers within the private were able to talk to the internet. However, the internet, from the internet, people could not get into them. I also deployed an internet gateway just to ensure accessibility with the outside world, with all the web servers. Okay, and then of course, I ensured that there was, using the CloudFront, it was available for HTTPS, so that all the traffic and the data between the users and my web servers are encrypted and secure, communication amongst them. I had the S3 buckets so that I can have for storage of other things that are not really relational in nature, and so that could be available. And then I had the elastic load balancer just to ensure that load are evenly distributed among the servers, the web servers, for speed, and just to ensure that it's not overloaded. Work is not overloaded on just one of the servers. So the elastic load balancer was helping me for that. And of course, the Amazon, database there, which is able to scale well. And I had that, outside of the VPC as well. Then, of course, I had the Route 53, which was, I ensured that the domain, a registered domain was available, and of course, it's secure with the CloudFront. And with the CloudFront as well, it was to ensure that there was speed in my users, for my users, and so that the request response traffic, was done in quick, in quick time. And also, I ensured that the routers were in place. Okay, I think I've said that. The routers, that's the gateway, and then the internet routers are also in place, just to ensure that I had sufficient control over the movement of, information in and out of my cloud. So basically, that is the deployment of my environment.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. All right. Thank you. Yes. Next person. Next person.
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
So on this project,
Your name?
my name is George.
Okay.
So during the implementation of this project, we decided to go with two full stack assembly where we had the web server using EC2, and then as well I helped with the app and the Dynamo DB. We decided to use a non-SQL database. We wanted to take advantage of speed and a seamless scalable database infrastructure. So, within the virtual private cloud that we're trying to establish, we had an elastic load balancer within those two subnets, those two stacks for distribution, for failover distribution between the two setup. And with my virtual private cloud, we had another load balancer that was there to help direct traffic, because we had a cloud front to ensure easier accessibility across different regions that are where traffic might be coming from. We also took advantage of Amazon S3 buckets for storage in this setup for non-SQL database related items that needs to be that needs to be stored, if I could use that. So the setup was to have a controlled environment with the VPC. That's why we went with two failover designs on the cluster end, and then had the load balancer there to help. And then on the networking side, we had another load balancer there for the purpose of traffic control and to get resources to all the possible ends of where connectivity might be coming from. We try to leverage the cloud front. That would be my interpretation of this level.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next person.
I can try.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ernest.
Ernest, okay.
Thank you. So looking at this project, I think what basically I started by deploying a single VPC with two availability zones, and I used two availability zones which are the minimum required for an application load balancer. And next, I also created an internet-facing application load balancer deployed across 2 availability zones in the public subnets using access through the application load balancers. So basically, this is a three-tier web application, three-tier web application including the web server, the application server, and the database. And when this is created, it was created in 3 different subnets, and the subnets will include the web server, the application server, and the database server. And sorry, later. Can somebody else go ahead? I'll try again later, please. Thank you.
All right.
Can I go?
Oh yeah, who is that? Awesome.
Yeah, this is Simeon. Well, we are still learning and I stand to be corrected if I'm saying anything that doesn't make sense. So you're open to ask, to correct me. So basically, looking at the VPC, there are 2, looking at those padlock, it shows private subnets. It's a 3-tier architecture. We have web server, application server. The web server is to deliver a static web content, and the application server is to deliver like interaction between the end users and the server, like online interaction. So, and there is a relational database, which is attached to those servers. So, from my knowledge of on-premise, the relational database like OLTP database, online transaction process database. So, and there's also an architecture, another one set up for failover, which is, I'm trying to talk about this standby database, which is for failover. If there is any failover, the load balancer can route traffic to the standby one. So now coming back to the front here, we have Amazon Route 53. So the Route 53 is to help us to resolve the domain name server to the IP. Looking at it, there is connection to the Amazon CloudFront and there's connection to the Elastic Load Balancing. So for the CloudFront, this is to allow availability of content. And that is why we have the S3, bucket S3 in the edge location. So which contain the big data. And the content is readily available to the CloudFront, which is delivered to the end user. So for the connection to the Elastic Load Balancer is for availability, for concurrency, to deliver the content straight up to, if there's any faults, to the right part, so it can always direct it to another route. So for the Amazon DynamoDB, from my stance to be correct, I believe this is like a backup, which backup all the data in the relational database, or I can classify it as, I'm not sure, you can correct me. It's like OLAP, online transaction application, OLAP database, which has the aggregation of all this data from the relational database, stored as a backup in the cloud, and is a serverless database. So that's it from me. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to give a try, even though I didn't prepare. Well, from looking at the picture, my name is Demola. Okay. So what is here? These are 2 full stacks applications. That is we have the web server, application server, and the database, which in this case is the Amazon RDS. So we have one application in the public zone, and we have one application. The full stack application one is in a subnet, which is made public, and the other one is in the private subnet. And in this case, the database, they are strictly private, because we don't want to allow internet access to it. Then we have the S3 bucket, which serves as the storage bank. Then we have the cloud front pointing to the S3 bucket and the elastic load balancer to manage traffic from the end user and to help prevent, to keep our application moving in case of a failure in a particular availability zone. Then, so we have all this infrastructure pointing to the Amazon Route 53, which is the ultimate deliverer to the end user. So this is just my contribution.
Okay. All right, thank you. What's next? So we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people talk. And then we're, how many are we? So we're, okay, we're 11 here. So who's next?
Yeah, this is Taiwo.
Okay.
So, actually, I'm just coming back from work right now, but I may not be able to spend about 5 minutes, but I will just give it a try, you know. That's my contribution. Looking at the diagram, it's a full stack architecting application, the front end, the back end, and the database application. And from this application, I actually use infrastructure as code with Terraform to deploy this application. You know, from Amazon CloudFront, I actually make sure that I ensure that my web server is being deployed and they're being distributed globally with a high speed. Then using my Amazon Route 53, I deploy my DNS and host name to distribute to make sure that is available globally. Then using my load balancer, I make sure that my load balancer is able to balance the load within the web servers. Then after that, I have to connect it to VPC, which is virtual private cloud. You know, using the infrastructure as code, Terraform. And then I was able to use my Amazon RDS database to ensure that my data is being secured. And also using Amazon storage service, I ensure that my data is being secure and they've been, you know, using the Amazon storage service. That's my contribution anyway.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, who's next? Who's next? I was still 11, yeah, we have still 3 people to go.
I'm here, but I'm learning.
Yeah, but we need to assess what you've learned. We need to know what you've learned so far. So, yeah. We'll know that through your presentation. Or if presentation is too heavy, through your explanation of what you understand. This design.
Hello, I'm here, but I'm at work, so I can't talk.
Okay.
I'm just watching. I'm learning also. But
All right.
I thought you said it was going to be on Thursday.
Sorry?
I thought it was going to be on Thursday.
Yeah, who else is here to contribute?
Mr. Akin, can someone that has gone before try again?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay. Again, my name is George. Giving it a try again. In the design, I was part of this build for 2 full stack application. It was a web application built for the purpose of being 2 full stack so that we can leverage failover, and then we had an elastic load balancer in between those 2 full stack for that possibility to happen. In those 2 subnets, we had a private and a public within that virtual private cloud, and the front end, like I said, was the web server, and then we have the app server, and at the back end was the relational database, Amazon RDS for relational data in that stack. So connected to the stack was the network that made the web service globally accessible. So we had our cloud front connected to our Route 53 for networking, and then making it globally accessible. And we had another elastic load balancer for traffic routing. And on storage, we had both S3 bucket for image, I would say for imaging and for other storage that will fit into that. And on the other side, we use a Dynamo for non-SQL related storage. This just for a little bit of performance in that sense. The setup was put this way to try and leverage elasticity, high performance, and scalability across. And in my contribution to this project, I was able to deploy using Terraform infrastructure as code in building, in deploying these resources and tying them together. That was my contribution.
Okay. Okay. Any other contribution? All right. Thank you. Let's look at it together then. So, okay, so okay. Yeah, the second approach from George, we learned from there. So first of all, the overview of your understanding of the big picture, which everybody made, at least attempted to a good made a good attempt at. Yeah, we'll still look at that together and see if we can understand the individual elements better to have a better understanding of the overview. But overall, everybody made a good attempt at that. But only very few actually remember to talk specifically about their role. And the very few who did, well, I think it was good that they remembered, like the last was George. So after giving an overview, you said specifically that, okay, your role in this project, well, yeah, that's really the interest. It's not just the overview. So many of you forgot that. Even though I would have loved your own role to be more detailed than the overview, more detailed, more specific. So did you create all of the resources with infrastructure as code? Terraform? If not, what exactly did you do? All right, I would have loved to hear more. This is not two full stack application or two full stack assembly. It's a single full stack application. All right, but just replicated because, like you said, for high availability. So it's one full stack application, not true. All right, then, yeah. I also liked, apart from the first two, Mo and Ramsey, which were good overview, essentially good overviews, but I don't remember them specifically say in a way that I remember what their own specific roles were, but the overviews were good. It shows, the first presentation shows a good understanding of each of these elements. And then for Mo, Ramsey, and even Bola specifically mentioned CloudFront and related it to HTTPS. Yes, those are the kind of things we are looking for. We're not looking for explanation of CloudFront in isolation. We want you to relate it to what does it do. Related it to HTTPS, and then mentioned Route 53 and related it to domain name. Yeah, it tells me that, yes, you know what, like I mentioned, it's not really about how long you speak, but just mentioning these keywords are the relevant places to show me that, yes, you know this, right? So those three were good. What is Simeon, right? Something you said about DynamoDB, but I didn't write the full question. DynamoDB.
Oh, okay. What I said was like, the DynamoDB is like a backup database here, and from my understanding, it's like it's kind of similar to OLAP database online, which get the aggregated data from. It's like a backup, definitely. I mean, in short.
Okay, yeah, but there was something maybe I didn't notice it was, sorry, man. Okay, but it's fine. All right, so and then Taiwo mentioned IA. But IaC, infrastructure as code, deploys infrastructure, not the application. All right, so it is one thing to have the infrastructure, the services in place. It's something else to have all of this infrastructure now supporting, now hosting your application. All right. So yeah, the mention of infrastructure as code here was good, but it's for deploying, for provisioning infrastructure, for deploying resources. Not that infrastructure does not include application. Deploy application is a different thing entirely, and that's where we are going to. That's what we are going to DevOps. All right. So together, let's look at the big picture now, so that at least everybody now understands, like, the first three persons, the overview of what this does. And then we want to go specifically into what specifically did you do in this design. And one person actually cannot be an expert in all of this. We want to know exactly what your own contribution is. If it was that somebody already set up all of the VPC and all you did was to provision this EC2, another EC2 here, and then an RDS here, then let us know, yes, that was all you did, and you did that with Terraform, and then I can specifically ask you questions about, okay, what is the command in Terraform that you would use to bring down all of this? Let me know where to ask you questions. But before we get there, let's do this overview one more time. So many people got this, actually everyone got that right. So your customers will be interacting with your application using domain name like www.era.com, all right? And that request would either be, from the diagram here, forwarded to the CloudFront, which, like many of you already said, makes this application available globally at high speed, or forwarded to Elastic Load Balancer. Essentially, this is the gateway into the application. So depending on which of the resources has less traffic, the request is forwarded to that. In this case, we can call it IaC, but it's the same application. They are not like two applications. Same application, but the IaC would, the load balancer would balance the load between the two tiers. Of course, yes, Amazon S3 bucket, like we see here, would, first of all, CloudFront hosts only static website, static application. So the assumption here is that a part of this whole application is static, while the other part is dynamic. The dynamic part is obviously hosted in here, the one that you call 3-tier, and then the static part is hosted here. Therefore, the link between CloudFront and that. And like you also observed, the DynamoDB would be responsible for for serverless related kind of databases, all right? But this is SQL based, and like you said, it's strictly for application based kind of database management, but DynamoDB is for non-SQL, all right? So that is why it is outside of the application, but of course, very useful. All right, so that is that. So the VPC is your key strength. It's your key area, the primary area you want to really talk about as a cloud solution set. You say, yes, you want to show me that you understand what that is and how it works. And then ultimately want to dwell here, because what question would I ask you on that S3 that a 9-year-old cannot do? What question would I ask you on that Route 53 that, this is the strength. This is where you really want to show me that, And then in focusing on the VPC, it just depends on what kind of, how you present it. If you present yourself as an expert and you tell me you did this, I'll just ask you questions accordingly. Right? So, yeah, as far as the overview is concerned, like I said, many of you got that right, but let's go specifically. Let's be more specific about what did you as a person, because somebody else, even though in class now, we have gone through all of this and you know all of this. In operations, you really want to say, I played this role. But if you want to say, if you claim that you understand, you did this single-handedly, as long as you can defend it, you even impress them more. But they may not be able to defend everything. So just pick, giving you the opportunity to pick just one area that you want to say, yes, this one I did, and I am the subject matter expert in that area. This area will be the wow area that we need. Okay, so from that point, what did you do how did you set up your VPC? Talking about your specific role now, because we now understand how everything works together. How did you set up your VPC? And these are all private. There's no public here from what we can see. I mean, for this particular design, this is a private subnet. Right? Look at the diagram. It's locked. It's another one. All right, but this is it's not well labeled. This is one easy. The horizontal representation is an easy. This is another easy. But this is the vertical one is representing subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3, spreading across through this. All right, so
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
Yeah, so when you said the three subnets there are all private, so how will people reach the web server?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be always public. It can also be private. It can also be private, and there are ways, there are technologies, there are services that makes it possible to still connect. As a matter of fact, it's going more and more private now, even the web servers, for security reasons. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
All right. And then the second question I want
Even,
to ask.
even your RDS, just to remember next time this comes to your mind, even your RDS that we know to be the primary reason you are setting up your database. You are setting up your private subnet. It's still accessible over the internet. You know? If you, what I mean by accessible is the RDS is still part of the application, and the application is available online, even though the RDS part is hidden from the public. I'm not necessarily saying that you can write to it in private. Well, I'm saying you can read. And for your web server, all you just want to do is to be able, not necessarily to write to it, just to be able to read. You want to be able to read it. So as long as you can read, you are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your second question.
Yeah. Okay. So I was trying to find out, this, like you said, it's one full stack and it is replicated on the other one. So does our course cover how to configure those replication in case of the failover? I mean,
What point are we going? Yes, I mean, not really specially, but it's already covered unconsciously, but it will become more obvious with when we actually now deploy applications in them. It's potent, it's there, but you are not noticing it yet. That you're already creating scalable, highly available infrastructure. But once applications begin to run in them, it becomes more obvious. Yes, so at the level where we begin to deploy applications and then we begin to test them, yes, this is the more obvious.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Can you explain why this is not a 3-tier stack?
This is not what?
You said it's actually one full stack.
Yes.
Are you just talking about the VPC area?
No, I'm talking about this one now.
Okay.
This full stack application. Some people said in their presentation that we have two full stack applications, one here and one there. No, it's one application. The application is just replicated for high availability. So even if they were replicated in 6 different places, it doesn't make them 6 different applications or 6 applications. It's still one application, one full stack application, but just replicated for high availability. So that, like you put it, in the event that one data center goes down and you lose your infrastructure there, your application is still up and your customers are not even aware that something happened because the other 5 IaCs are still hosting a very highly available. It is for that reason that this AWS RDS DB instance is not another instance. It's simply called standby, like I don't know if you had time to revise to look at that video. But as long as it's a standby and not another database on its own, then it's just, in other words, let me not complicate it. But does it make sense? Does the expression? So it's one thing, it's one application. It's just replicated in. And that replication, like somebody observed, is really, really important. Otherwise, why are you in cloud? You must have at least one application replicated so that you have at least the original and the replica. In some cases, you want to run, depending on configuration, it will be configured such that only the original, it's not actually original, it's just the one I'm calling original is the one, the other one is the replica. So it could be configured such that your web app is active and the other one is the replica is redundant. The redundant comes on only when the web server fails. That's one way to configure it. Another way to configure it is to have both of them active and using your load balancer, in this case, to direct traffic to both of them simultaneously. So if a new traffic is coming in and then this processor is already utilized to 60% and this one is just 55%, then it is likely that the new traffic will be directed to this system because the processor is only utilized. I mean, it's available compared to this one that is being utilized 60%. And all of these are inherent services available within AWS. They are not a special configuration. They are just there. And even though you don't know it, just by installing and configuring this, you already activated those algorithms. So in any case, they are there in case you want to look at them.
Okay. So,
yeah.
Something. So when you said for this web server, for instance, it looks like one can have like several servers, because if you're talking about the load balancing, that means there are several web servers.
Yes, there are at least two, yeah.
Okay, so like the last thing you described is more like you are considering those other instances, server instances, as the replicated, instances as well, because you said there's sometimes you make it active. In that case, the load balancer is just
in this case, sorry to cut you short. In this case, as long as there's a load balancer, it should be active. So even if we have, in this case, we have just two, even if we have three, all three will be active. That's why there is load balance. If there was no load balancer, then it will be that one is redundant. In other words, it's not active until something happens here, and then something is triggered. In AWS, when we say something, it's usually the Lambda function is triggered to say, your senior has gone down. Please wake up and take the place of master. But as long as there's load balancer, it means that they are all active. But
thank you.
They are all active. Same application, but replicated and deliberately replicated in different AZs. You don't want to replicate them on the same AZ. What's the use having 3 web servers of the same application on the same AZ? That means if anything happens to the AZ, it goes on. So that's bad design. You want to deliberately make sure you have only one on 1A, another one on 1B, another one on 1C, not 2. Yeah. And then of course, you are remembering that the web server is one system. It's an EC2 for example. And then the app server is another system. I mean, diagrammatically, that is a safe assumption. But it's also possible in practice to have all of them together on a single system. Like my developers were asking me if that's or not. I said no. Keep them separate in separate servers. Yeah.
So, but sorry, sir, but can you have that configuration in such a way that you have the web servers across regions just for speed and for safety, like you have it within the regions, of course, availability, so that you have also the elastic, the load balancer serving even web servers in other regions. Is that possible?
I didn't get that question. You lost me.
Okay, so what
You
I mean,
said,
so this scenario we see here is across two AZs within the same region.
yes.
So I'm saying, is it possible to configure such that you have your web servers not only in one region, so the load balancer is actually serving, you know, web servers in other regions at the same time? Is that possible?
It's not. I don't think it's possible. But there are other solutions that are. What did your Amazon CloudFront do? That was all you did. So there are other solutions that will take care of the problem that you are trying to solve with setting up multiple servers across multiple regions.
Yeah.
There are other solutions. One obvious solution is CloudFront. CloudFront will make it available across all regions simultaneously. As a matter of fact, like you can observe here, CloudFront is a different and separate network of its own. Like you said during presentation, it makes it globally available. Yeah, that's what you are trying to achieve when you said you want to make it regionally. And CloudFront is only one solution. There are at least 5 other solutions like that to achieve. But yeah, limit in the region. Yeah, even within the S3 buckets, the SORS. Yeah, there are. I can't remember the full name, but there are different solutions that will make your local server in one corner of one AZ in one region, all of a sudden make it globally available and the whole world is seeing. Amazon has all of this.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, so now let's talk about our role here. What did we do? Let's talk with particular reference to infrastructure as code. Tell me what you did here using infrastructure as code. Even if it's as simple as telling me that you use it to create the VPC, it's something. At least I know that at least you can create a VPC using, I created a VPC using infrastructure as code. I was sharing with you, I was in this class, my very first interview for the role of cloud solutions architect. DevOps was not common then. DevOps was relatively new, so it was a cloud solutions architect. And then the interview ended at that time, abruptly, very suddenly, because we got to the point of, okay, you have an over. I hadn't even done infrastructure as code. Yeah, I didn't know what. I wasn't sure I knew what it was, but I already knew cloud. So okay, fine. You're giving us an overview of cloud. That's fine. Now the next thing is everything that you have claimed you can do in cloud. How did you do it? I went to the console. I used my okay. Do you know anything about infrastructure as code? No. I mean, whatever the answer was, it ultimately meant no. And that was where the interview ended. Well, in this company, we use Terraform as to deploy our infrastructure. So if you do not know infrastructure as code, there is no way you can fit. That was the end of it. So that's what I'm now saying. Okay, so that will not be the same for you. Tell me now that you know infrastructure as code, so that I can ask you, what did you do with infrastructure as code here? And then tell you, just ask you, like you see, it's not a very broad topic. It's not as broad as AWS. I can ask you 1 or 2 questions about how you did what you did to prepare you for the work. Because why would anybody employ you if you are coming into their team to do these things manually? It's not efficient at all.
How detailed do you have to be? Like, I mean,
yeah, if you don't tell me what you
saying,
know, I cannot correct you. So that's why we're discussing this. So you tell me what you know, I can tell you, oh, that was
what I'm saying
enough.
is, if you're talking about it and you just say, oh, I provisioned my VPC using Terraform,
Yes, they will take it from there and then drill you for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Until they are satisfied.
Do you have to, explain in details how you created a role, a user account, how do you have to go into all that detail?
No, unless you are asked. Unless you are asked. For example, there was another interview long ago too, and the simple question at the beginning of Terraform, at that time I still did not know Terraform, was what are the 5 common, I think I already shared that with you, right? The 5 most used Terraform commands. And this was the answer that they were looking for that I did not, right? No. Terraform init, Terraform plant, Terraform validate, Terraform apply, Terraform destroy. Finish. I mean, for you to even mention those, first of all, it gives us a starting point, right? Then I cannot ask you questions, further questions to show me, to tell me that you really understand how to use Terraform destroy, for example. And then you don't just, at some point, you don't just say Terraform destroy, you say Terraform destroy to apply. Then, it just tells me that you have used that before. That's all I want to. I'm not really going to stress you to say how do you spare or to apply or where do you put command. No, I just want to. I want to know that you have actually done it. All right. So, for example, this particular case now, I'll ask you. Okay, fine. The overview is good. You have an understanding of this whole project. You're not just one tiny man sitting there and saying, this is not my business. No, you do understand the whole project. Now,
I have a question, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, based on these explanations, like as a solution architect, we need a kind of deep knowledge about VPC and EC2.
All right.
Based on what you're explaining, right?
Definitely, especially VPC and everything that is all the constituent resources within VPC. Yes.
Okay.
The whole after everything said and done in AWS, everything I need you to take. The one thing that I need you to take home is the ability, competence, and skill to create VPC alongside this is one EC2 here, one EC2 there, one RDS, especially the EC2s. Yes. So even if you forget how CloudFront works, well, we could overlook that and say, well, we don't use it often. But for VPC and the EC2s and the subnets and the NACO and everything around VPC, no, you cannot forget.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
yes, sir.
Is this under associate solution architecture or is moving towards professional?
Sorry, I didn't get it. Is it on that one?
Is this under associate solution architecture or is tilting towards professional solution architecture?
Is there a difference? It's just in the certification that's the difference. So, you mean what we are covering right now, right?
Yeah, because we are associates, we've not really been in the industry. We've not played with it yet. So our knowledge is very little because we are not going to pretend like, oh, you work for this company before, work for this company before already played with VPC and stuff. We're still associates. We are still learning. So that's the thing.
Well, nobody will hire. Nobody will hire a learner. That's the problem.
I understand. Like we've done labs and stuff like that, but that is not like workplace experience is different.
To answer your question, we cannot really differentiate between, practice. Maybe in the exam, we can say, oh, that is outside the curriculum, that is. But in practice like this, there's really no demarcation, no line between this is associate, this is professional, this is what's the lower one? This is practitioner, right? No. Just know to do it, and that's it. And the more services you have control over, the better.
Okay. Well, to answer the question, if I'm to use Terraform, if I'm to use to integrate with Terraform, I would say I used to create my VPC, and within my VPC, I created 2 subnets, a private subnet, and a public subnet, and I created availabilities also with Terraform.
You created what? Yeah, I understood up to subnet, yeah.
Yeah. So I created two subnets, the private subnet and the public subnet, and I also created two availability zone within the VPC. I used to have created the VPC first, right? And within the VPC,
is there a separate person talking? The same person?
No, Ibrahim Shoda.
Oh, it's a separate person, right?
No, it's still the same person. That's the question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's good, but you don't create availability zones now.
Oh,
you
sorry,
spread
my bad. Sorry. Yeah, it's already right. So you just created. I created two subnets, the private subnet and the public subnet within the VPC.
And then you were able to put EC2s on the
EC2s, yes.
Your servers on the subnets, right?
Yeah.
Using Terraform as well. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. That's good enough. So if you're able to tell me, yes, I created a VPC and the subnets within the VPC, one private, some private, some public, and then provision EC2s in the VPC. Yeah, that's good enough. That's a good point to start.
All right. Don't worry.
Mute yourself, please. All right. So that is good. So let's take it from that point now. What command did you use to create? Well, just I don't know a better way to phone. My interest now is, okay, did you actually create a VPC? Just anything to tell me that you created a VPC is fine. But for now, let me just say, what command did you use to create VPC? Following on that contribution, which was good. I mean,
Terraform command.
Yeah, what's the Terraform command?
You first have to initialize, plan.
Yeah, before you even go to initialize, yeah. Anything you remember about the code or the program?
Provision the Terraform provider services.
And the main
TF.
Main TF.
And the variable TF. If you want
to.
If you
okay, I want to create. Okay, let's look at it like this. I want to create a VPC in Terraform. How do I do it?
Okay, so the first is you have to have your infrastructure ready, like the VS code, and install your HT Terraform and Ubuntu, and configure your AWS, and then you create a folder, and then provision your provider.tf using Terraform command and AWS as a service. And then you go to documentation
Yes, I go to documentation. That's the answer. The rest were just English. You were telling me how to set up VS Code. So I go to documentation. Fine, that's the answer. I mean, I will accept that answer. Now, have you gone to documentation to fetch the script to set up VPC before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you looked at it? Just tell me something to show me, to let me know that you have seen that documentation and that you have used it before. Anything you can remember?
You have AWS provider is on it.
Yes, that's a different. Okay, let me give you a clue on what is important. Yes. So this is me. All right. I'm trying to create VPC. This is what I'm asking you.
Resource.
Yeah. So if you tell me, just mention resource, anyhow you want to introduce it. The resource here is resource AWS VPC. Anyhow you want to just tell me this, it will really go a long way to tell me that yes. You don't have to memorize this. You don't have to. Documentation, like somebody said, will take care of this. Well, at least I want to know, okay. Oh, the first line will usually be resource, then the resource what? In this case, the AWS resource that you want to set. Even if you don't remember this, fine. Just take the mention of resource. You are good enough. You are good. You are good. Just tell me that, yes, you have used it. Even though you don't remember it. All right? So documentation is important. You don't have to memorize the script. as long as you know where to get them. Even the interviewers, the guy that was in this class I was sharing with somebody about the 30-year-old experienced trainer with AWS. One of us, I mean, especially at this age, you don't memorize things, you don't remember things, but as long as you know where to get them, you are good. So if you don't know the script, but you know where to get the script and the scripts are valid, you are good. But at least remember one or two things about it. For example, if I ask you about this now, you should have seen it before. So since it's not a photograph, you may want to mention at least one thing here to show me that yes, you have seen it. All right, but beautiful. You are good. You're doing well so far. So somebody mentioned that he created VPC subnets and placed resources in the subnet, and then somebody went ahead to say, well, I do not remember the code offhand, but they are always available online documentation. Go there, grab the code, and then depending on the resource that I want to provision, I grab the appropriate code. Yeah, or script. Fine. Yeah, we're making headway. So after you create the code as your main.tf, for example, then what do you do to ultimately to set up to provision the resource? So you do Terraform init, Terraform plan, and then Terraform apply. You set up the resource for you, right? What's the command to test if the resource is set up and running?
Terraform plan.
Terraform state.
Terraform state what?
List.
Terraform state list. Yeah.
State list. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sorry. Earlier you make mention of previous class. You make mention of Terraform registry. Is there the place that we can get all these resources?
Yeah, your note now. The Terraform registry is the documentation somebody talked about. Hello, sir. Who was that?
This is Taiwo.
Yeah, Taiwo was in your note. We even went there together one time, and I was looking for it, and it was you through Mo that showed me that I should click registry. We looked at it together. We forgot.
Is a link.
Yeah, you see, even if you don't have the link, just Google it. It's documentation. But the links, all the links are in your notes.
Okay, thank you.
Registry is there. I don't just want to leave this particular place now. Yeah. So the documentation is there. That's the registry is part of the documentation. You just click documentation, whether it is provider.tf you want to create or variable.tf or whatever, everything is there. And that is why I copied even the codes that we have in your notes. That's why I copied them. It's just that I cannot be taking you back and forth from documentation. So I have to copy them from documentation and save them here for you. All of this. All right. So yeah, I mean, with what we have discussed now about the VPC and how that's good enough. That's good enough to start. How they drill you from that point is now up to you. If it's a core Terraform project and all you'll be doing is Terraform, then they are likely to drill you harder than if you are just passing by Terraform. I had somebody call me this afternoon from one of your old colleagues from AWS. And then he was asking for Terraform code to configure API, which apparently is not a big deal, but like somebody was asking, API is not yet part of AWS associate level. It's more like at the professional level, but it's being paid. They were looking for. So for somebody like that, he's actually being trained as a developer there. And then he was once in training him. Anyway, bottom line, I'm just trying to say that this is the application in operation. And then I have somebody else that I shared with you before who has gone so deep in Terraform that in their own Terraform application, they are actually now using what she calls what does she call it? Console? No, not console. Components. All right. So they have components, which is not available in training. So that component is where they declare. So in addition to what we have here, all of these modules now, this is a module, this is a module, this is a module. They now have another component, another module called component. So component is where they declare their security features like password, I mean, things that are peculiar to that company, but not for public. So the dev will tell the Terraform what to go into cloud to provision, but it is the component file that has your username and password to cloud and what VPC in cloud you want to connect to and what they should do there specifically. So it's company related secret information. Whereas the other, so that's like the highest level. Well, maybe not the highest, but a very high level of work with Terraform for somebody doing $65 per hour. So it just depends on what you meet out there. The company will have resources, library that you can pull from to know. But for entry level, to test whether, and again, not all jobs require Terraform. DevOps, cloud solutions architecting job. In fact, whatever title they call it, they vary from company to company. I have somebody else one of the two people who got jobs even before we did, we're just completing Terraform then when he got job. And then he did not even, eventually we completed the training together. But he came back recently to say the job was really taking him off, drawing him far away from his family. He was too tasking. And so luckily for him, he got another job, same pay, not higher. And then came back to say, wow, this job is so relaxing. So I can have time now. I can join you as a trainer if you want, so that I can come in to share my experiences with the trainers that are coming. So the point I'm making from there is one job is so tasking at 100K and he has no time for anything. Now another job, same 100K, he's so relaxed that he even has time to come join me, have time for family, have time to come and so just varies. It's not all the same. It varies. Even though the job title is the same, the job description may look similar, but the operations vary from place to place, from role to role. So some may be only Terraform, other may be okay, a bit of Terraform, but more of something else. Or whatever they are asking you to do, you should have in your Linux, some are even purely Linux. So whether your understanding of Linux, of AWS, of Terraform, and of course, by the time you finish DevOps, you now see that you can fit in. Then you now be at the liberty to say, man, this is too tasking. I cannot learn all these things that you want me to learn in 3 weeks, or even in 3 months, just because of 122. Then you're already looking for another job before you know it. There are so many jobs out there. And getting into one is the first one you need. It's easy to get another one.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
can you integrate Terraform with Jenkins?
You said?
Can we integrate Terraform with Jenkins?
Yes, it's possible. You can do it. But is there a better solution than that? How is it done outside? I mean, in operations. So yes, it is how it is done in operation is not likely to be integrating Terraform. There will be other tools that will make it much easier. I've seen the integration of Terraform with Jenkins. It's not something I can really readily bring to class and teach you. I'll be happy that I've it's not so straightforward. I might manage to get it on my own, but yeah. So with my interaction with all of these people and then attendance of other bigger training myself, we have we have access to the industry best practice, the industry way of accomplishing that same goal that you are pursuing by wanting to integrate. We'll get there.
So the other project that you gave us, the one for the VPC, and do I need to create a key pair or just copy the one on documents, or will it automatically create it?
No, you will not create it. You have to have an existing key pair active before you can use.
Okay, an existing one. Okay.
But if you don't want to create a key pair, no wahala, you can. It's just that you'll not be able to. Anyway, now that we're going to DevOps, that's where you now see how often we need to use key pair to connect. Yeah, I'm trying to look for that question here.
I think you scroll past it already.
It's on the project, the one you sent separately to.
Okay. Yes, you have to create that key pair. Just like in our own case, the one we do in class, we already created class key pair, right?
Yes.
Anyway, just go ahead. Even if you don't create it, even if I don't give you the answer, if you don't have it, it will tell you, I'm trying to create this EC2, but I don't have any key pair to do it. Therefore, it will give you wrong. Then you know, like this course now, they did just come up straight away. There were like 6, 7, 10, 15 errors telling me the place you're asking me to create this from, I cannot use /16. They have to be, and then you got it right. So yes, you may not know the answer beforehand, but once it drops the error, you now know what to correct.
So when are you sharing the remaining materials with us? I think you say you are going to share something through the repository. Or...
Yes, but that may not be right now because we have not done.
Okay.
And this one that can you see my work, my
yes
Windows? Yeah, I'll. What's the best way to give you this one? I'll give you that one. Yeah. This,
okay, the advanced Terraform project,
which is the normal way that Terraform projects are executed in operations. This is from operations.
I think this can come through the Gmail anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll look for the best way to see. But these other ones you already have. Why I said you already have, I don't really have to copy this specifically and give it to you. As long as you have your main and your providers, you can always create your, and then you have your own key pair. So instead of class key pair, you use your own, just modify it. So you already have them in code. And then you know that even though you are seeing this like this, my own files here are actually only 1 and 2. These other ones were created by system. And today we just looked at variables. So now you know that you can have variables as well as any name.tf. In that case, you need to specifically say on the command line that you should draw this value from using what we do. Yeah, let's return to this. So any other question around this? All right, so following that one, also you go and practice. Go and sit down, rehearse, because it's not the same thing when I give you prepared answer as you really using your own brain to imagine, write down something, that way it sticks. I've supported, if you are going to claim that you have supported a team of 15 developers and 30 DevOps to build infrastructure in cloud using Terraform. That's what we just did. That's what you just proved to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to do over the 3 days, I was able to like set up VPC, create EC2, use the user data just from my own end without looking at this. I did all that Yeah, within Terraform. So everything went, but when I tried to connect to the public IP to see what I set up in the user data, it was like rolling forever. So I'm still on that. Don't try to troubleshoot what is going on. But I know it's going to be maybe the way my VPC was set up, or I know it has to be with the networking though.
Yeah, that's good. It's good practice. But in any case, you know, that's our project, and you already have the answer in case you still are not able to resolve it by yourself on your own. Do you remember?
Yes. I followed this pattern, but I was just creating my own custom VPC and stuff like that.
Yeah. Where's the project now? So project. Which I already said to you. Yeah. All right. So this is so clean and straightforward. I used to have one that was so.
Oh, I didn't have this.
Is that Simeon?
Oh,
you don't have this code?
He sent it on the on WhatsApp.
I'm surprised that you people are not on WhatsApp.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't see this.
This is the one I was talking about for the key pair thing.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Anyway, it's good you didn't see it. Now that you have failed, I mean, yeah, you tried.
So,
I mean,
so is this on the WhatsApp group?
Yeah.
It's been there since before Jesus Christ was born.
Wow.
I
only saw the one we have on the notes.
He sent it right after the notes.
It's a notepad.
Oh.
It's a notepad, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a question that I was asking. Yeah. So in my own case, in your own case, you remove this key pair and put in your own.
Oh, I will use this to troubleshoot what I'm saying then.
Exactly. And then we tried this in class and then everything went because we
I know when you run this in the class and it worked. Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't know you share something like this.
Why not share it? It's for you now. All right, so that one is there. I've shared virtually everything here apart from this one, which yeah, I could just put it on the Google Drive and give you access to that. All right, so back to, and then of course, even though we are, you know that this your project is a brilliant one to present at interviews that you did. It's just that because this one is not in diagram form, we're just using this diagram, this design. It's the same thing. I don't know if you understand. The project you just mentioned now is what I'm asking you to claim here, within here, that this is what you do. That you created a VPC and then you put you created subnets within the VPC, and then you, like one of you said, put well, you do not really need to go into this because when you say you create VPC, I already know that VPC contains gateway, routable, subnet, right? Well, yeah, and you created a VPC, you created security group, you created internet, you created what's this? The network interface, right? And then this is the most beautiful, that you actually set up an EC2 instance in the public subnet and made that EC2 instance a web server, and you placed your web page on the web server, and it worked before you now handed it over to the other team members to go and work, because your own part of the work was to set up the infrastructure, which you did. You set this up, you set this up. Although that one does not cover the RDS part, but it shows that you did not only set up the VPC, you also actually set up the subnets and the other components of the VPC, and then you put a web server there, you configure the web server, and it worked. Once you browse the IP address. So if you say it worked, I'm going to ask you, how did you know it worked? Browse the IP address and it displayed my default web, right? So to put the actual application now, I hand over to the developers. And then, of course, also, once the application was deployed, I helped using Route 53 to resolve the domain name to the IP address so that henceforth I was no longer browsing with the IP address. I was not browsing with the domain. Yeah. We just carry that project and put it here. Finish. This VPC we're talking about here. That's what you did with it. All right. Any other question? Okay. All right. So that's yes.
Oh, I was just, I don't know how I missed this in the thing. So is it still then on the WhatsApp thing? No, not this one, the other one.
The codes.
Yeah, the project and the diagrams.
Yes, it is. I'll resend it.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Please, MVP, I don't mind to send it to me. I didn't find it too.
And just repost it on the forum. You guys
I'll
don't
just
visit forum.
repost it, yeah.
So visit the forum after class so that you will see the latest. And then what else? Okay, so that'll be it for Terraform. So next class we'll just take a look at CloudFormation. We'll try to see if we can accomplish this same, similar projects like we just completed with Terraform, this time using CloudFormation. And fortunately, I also have another CloudFormation project that is doing this same thing that Terraform just did. This Terraform one that I call Advanced Terraform Project. I also have the codes in CloudFormation. But CloudFormation codes are not written in TF. They are written in a different programming, a different programming format, not only called YAML.
So there's no way we can open this file in a VS Code.
VS Code does everything now. There's nothing that VS Code cannot do. We open it now.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing VS Code cannot do. I can open it right away. Open folder. You want to save this? You want to? Yes, trust this. Look at it. We transformed from that to cloud. Look at it. CloudFormation.
Oh.
The only thing I need to do now is configure VS Code to recognize YAML and work with YAML. And it's already even suggested to me. But let's not start all of that today. Let's keep it here. Okay. Once it says, using a different kind of file that I don't know about is YAML. You want me to be able to support YAML? Anyway, let me just click. Yes, support YAML. All right, so we'll look at this and then we'll go to cloud to see, okay, are the app infrastructure actually deployed as we have? I'll actually go to cloud and do it in cloud first and come back. Yes. So that's we'll do that in one class and then we'll be doing. So that way, yeah, I think we can finish that by class. All right, questions. That's about it. But if you do have questions, since we've not ended the infrastructure as code class, if you have questions that you need us to revise, the course, if you have time. If there are no questions, then we'll start. I'll go practice. Because I don't have note for you yet on Terraform, on CloudFormation. So I'll go practice CloudFormation and then I will document all the step-by-step processes so that I can share the notes. And then you can now claim when at interviews they're asking, do you know this? You say yes. Do you know this? You say yes. It's a way of showing that yes. Of course, you may not know them all equally. So you could say, yes, I know this, but I use this more. So I can imagine them saying, what do you use for infrastructure as code? And you say, yeah, I do Terraform and also do CloudFormation. And you say, wow. Right, so which is your favorite? Which would you like me to test you? You say, okay, Terraform. I mean, whichever you prefer. But of course, Terraform is more universal. CloudFormation is specifically for AWS. All right. So if there's nothing else, we can close early today.
How many more classes do we have, sir?
One class should do. One class should do. To cover. We are done with Terraform now. So one class should do to cover the infrastructure.
What are we having next after Terraform?
After Terraform, you are done with cloud solutions architecture. The next course will be the DevOps, the real DevOps for which we are doing all of these as preparation. So DevOps is split into 2 months. The first month will be learning all DevOps tools from Git all the way to deploy using Jenkins. And then the second month will now be, let us take a project, a DevOps project. You have noticed that from, oh, okay, we only just started Terraform. Just like we had a project in Terraform that you can practice and take to interview, so we'll be having projects subsequently from now. All right, so we'll now take a project and then we'll build the server from scratch. Call in the codes from scratch. And then we'll use a project to learn how to set up, how to provision infrastructure, put application there, deploy the application to production, browse the production to see that it's actually working, and then come back to automate that whole process. Right? So that project, ideally, after you know it, it will not take you more than 3 days to deploy, but because it's learning, it will take us 3 weeks. Learn how to automate. And then, of course, we are going to have it not just here like this, because at the end of the day, you are going to have so many projects. At that point, you will now also have a repository GitHub that this place is connected to. Depending on what project you want to bring to your system to now open the app. You have your CloudFormation project, you have your Terraform project, you have your Docker project, your Kubernetes. You have so many projects like that. Right? And then that's what you'll be taking to. Yes, so next class after this is the you guys see meeting to practice like you did initially with Linux and
Not yet.
what are you waiting for?
Maybe we'll do that this weekend. Hopefully.
This is when you need it to. This is when you need to
Hey,
practice.
class, I may send out the link for this weekend when we choose a day.
Yeah, I encourage you to really practice interact with yourself. This is when you need that solidarity and that because these are the interview questions. Interview questions start from here. They start with start from here. The console experience is to know how things really are, but the deployment in operations is through codes. I've given you all those examples I was giving you about somebody calling from, it's just to tell you that this is what is used in operations. So this is the reinterview. While you use all of this other knowledge to say, I know it, this is the real implementation. Haven't proven that you know it, you understand it. This is how to make it happen. Codes, scripts. It's good to practice on practice.
Okay, one more thing. Yeah, for the next two classes, our set is still under the special payment coverage, right?
Payment coverage, what does that mean?
The 600, right?
Oh, okay.
Next
Yeah.
one.
And what's the meaning of payment? Sorry. Yes, your own class is only your class because advertised at that price when you came in, and then of course, and then yeah. Long story short, yes.
You were logged in.
Yes, you logged in. You logged in.
30 fixed.
Logged in just to show that the people who, yeah, different classes, and it's a different experience with you because this is a new style of delivery. Anyway, you don't know how it was, but it's a new style and it's much richer than the previous ones. And then of course you've had me taking you throughout, right? Which is awesome. So how it is now is that I take Linux just to bring people to class and convince them as much as I can that IT is not that difficult. Then AWS and infrastructure as code will be delivered by my trainers. And then after that, the trainees, the students will come back to me for DevOps. Unlike your class where I'm taking you from, it is good for me and good for you. Yes. So for those that are able to take advantage, it will be awesome because next time, even at the normal price, it may not be me taking it. Maybe wise, the guy who just moved from a difficult job to a less stressful, now enjoying IT. Yeah. But of course, it's really hard to give. For somebody like that, he will just come in, maybe take one session, but the whole curriculum, no. But for training purpose, you need to know everything. But for operations, you might only be able to share with you what he does, not the whole curriculum. You need to know everything so that whatever the interview question is coming from, you are ready. After you get hired and you begin to work, then knowledge will not be streamlined to what you do every day. Okay, so yes, let's see if one more lecture would.
And then when do we start the DevOps tools?
DevOps tools will be immediately, no breaks though, because
Okay.
no breaks at all. It will be immediately. So as usual, we'll allow everyone to attend the first one, maybe the first two classes, make up their mind if it's too hard or, and then once you feel that, wow, it's interesting, go ahead. Of course, I know that some of you already for the people that you want. And I know that for a few, this is good enough. They want to take a break and go and assimilate all of these practice. Maybe even go and look for a job with this. But for many of you, you want to get to the top of the pyramid.
I think I found my mistake from that notepad now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen some things.
Okay. It's been shared already, so you can access it.
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah, but good practice because if you didn't practice, you wouldn't know that. Yeah, so even for us that just come here, we are doing, what are we doing here? Terraform init. It's not like that's how it works. It took practice to get what is working to show before you. But it's just that when we come to class, in live classes, we build things from scratch. So that gives you the opportunity to see, it's not packaged, it's not pre-arranged. So everything is done from scratch. So it gives you the confidence that, yeah, this is it. But even then it took practice, just like you are practicing now, to get it to the point where you can afford to come to class and begin to build things from scratch and everything access to the built. So we all practice. Nobody's guru. You become guru only after you have practice. Go ahead. All right. If you were also talking and not leaving the whole talk to me, maybe it would have been interesting to spend another 25 minutes. But right now,
Okay, yeah.
I'm out.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
For tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All
Thank
right,
you, sir.
guys.
Right,
All
good night,
right.
everyone.
Nice.
Good night.
Take care.
See you on
Yeah, bye.
Okay.